Merry meet and bright blessings. I'm Rowan, and wow, I'm like right up there in your face. Sorry. So I'm a little chilled in my basement. It's like so hot outside, so we have the air conditioner high, but I've been hanging out in the basement because it's like a lot cooler. So kind of nice to be down here, even though I had to grab a sweatshirt because I was getting chilled. But like you needed to know that. Basements are nice for that when it's hot. Well, welcome. So this is Witchy Book Club. Yay! So this week we are this is Witchy Book Club. Yay! So this week we are discussing so that's kind of exciting. So we're going to kind of talk about covens. She really does like a very simple breakdown because there's a lot of intricacies involved in being in a coven. And actually, if you start a coven, there's a lot that you need to do. But she does give like some really great basics in this chapter. And there are a lot of really good exercises to bond with your coven family. So we're going to enjoy that. So I'm just going to send a couple. All right, and this is a spiritual safe place. So I do ask that everybody be respectful, no arguing, no fighting, and no berating or belittling anybody. You will get yourself muted if you do. So I will try to warn you, but I only had one case where I had to actually mute somebody without a warning because they were really going off. So it does happen. We are on the, It is what it is, and that's sometimes what we have to deal with. So I'm just going to light some incense here because I love having incense. If you have joined or you want to join panel, please feel free to join. So welcome, Bren.
Ooh, the past few days have been absolutely bonkers.
It happens. I've been going crazy myself. I'm so busy, but doing some incense. And this one smells really good. I don't even know what flavor it is or what scent it is. Flavor. I'm not eating it.
I've been mainly using Ganesha's Black Orchid.
Ooh.
That. Oh, I don't have words for it.
Yeah, I honestly don't even, this one smells so good. Even when it's not burning, it smells really good. And I'm like, why did I not write? Because I get them and I usually write down the name, but the ones I grab for myself out of my inventory, I just toss in my witch room. And I'm like, I should have wrote down the name because I don't know which one it was.
I used to make my own, but because of life circumstances of moving and all the cray-cray, I stopped, but I really need to get back into it.
Yeah. Oh, no, I totally understand. Like I make candles and lotion and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I'm like, I need to do this. And my husband's like, really? With everything we have going on? So,
100%. We need this.
yeah,
It's not just a hobby, it's a way of life.
exactly. You don't understand. So, all right, we are going to be discussing. Oh, let me show it upside down and backwards. So, I need to like flip there we go. All right, we are discussing Spiral Dance by Starhawk. We are on chapter 3, and it is the Coven. So she literally it's a brief high overview of a coven. And so I have like the questions associated, but I think that since Starhawk wrote this, a lot more has come out, and there are literal like high priestesses and high priests who have written a lot of books on covens. So I think it would be really great just for us to like share our input, both with what is in the book and what is not in the book. So Starhawk talks about how covens serve as multiple roles, that it can be a support group, a consciousness rising group, a psychic study center, a clergy training program, and a surrogate clan or a surrogate family. And that the coven goal should be to aim for perfect love and perfect trust in its members. So, all right, with that said, that's kind of what Starhawk says. But Bren, what do you feel is the function of a coven? Like with your personal experience and with what you understand?
Hmm. Well, for me, being so heavily Aquarius dominant, trying to push me into a group like that and make me like having to be alongside of the group, that it doesn't really work well with me because me personally, I'm so flexible and adaptable. If I'm allowed to just go into the group, but not be like nailed to it, I'm perfectly fine. But if I'm being told like you cannot go anywhere else, oh, are you sure about that? Is that something you want to test? But it is, in a way, it is also really good to. It's a good way to also test an individual person to see if they're really dedicated to a certain practice or way of being. Like for an example, I gotta be careful how I go towards this. There are some practices that are deeply traditional and like they have a long heritage and they're still practiced. In a way, that can be kind of seen as a coven, even though it would be labeled completely something different. But that going into those routes and then dedicating to that, you're stuck to it, and you have to keep that tradition going. And in that regard, for me, that is something that is not only beneficial for the person and other people, but then it's also beneficial for the ancestor line for that to keep going. And keeping that alive is probably the most, at least for me, the most important thing any kind of group or coven can ever do.
Yeah, I think you're right. And some you may we may run into them. I know that there are covens in Europe that actually are very old and very ancient. So they've got like a lot of old practices that they use, which is really cool. We're still kind of new here in the States. I mean, you think about it, our country's not that old.
And even like some other practices, like let's see if I can try to remember. There are some like quote unquote the stereotypical secret societies or quote unquote Illuminati and stuff like that. Technically, by technicality, that is a coven, even though it's more like oh we're being like secret, we're being like a secret agent coven. Like okay, you don't have to make it so woozy wooey. We know.
Yes. So yes, I think that's a great example is ceremonial magic when we're looking at like the Golden Dawn, when we're looking at Druidism, when we're looking at Freemasons, Order of the Eastern Star, Knights Templar. I mean, there's a lot of them out there. I have done a kind of a combination. So I started out solitary, found a school, an online school, and trained with them for many, many years. I did end up getting my high priestess with a different school. I will say online is a little different, especially the online school I did. They did rituals, but the live rituals that they did, it was just whoever was leading it was the only person that was live. So it was kind of like watching like a like like a Facebook live. There we go. Like here on TikTok, we can have multiple people come up and talk, but on Facebook, it's just the person going live. So,
And it doesn't have that. It's not like you're really involved in it. It's like you're having a screen like blocking them. But if you're in person doing it, you feel the energy and the environment around you come to you.
yes, yes. Yes. So a group of people in Chicago had a coven, but it wasn't really an organized coven. But I will say a couple of the women there were very Karen-y. So they were very judgmental. So if you went into random dance or song, they would judge you. And so you didn't feel very comfortable being in your own skin. So, and that's like something you have to be careful of too, but it wasn't a real organized coven, if that makes sense. Like they would call the rituals coven rituals, but it wasn't an official coven. Where like no one was initiated. So the two I did online, like one of them at least was kind of Zoomy. So like we could ask questions and you could meet people before, they would let you in, but the teacher, the high priestess, her screen was blank until ritual started or until the coven meeting started. The one thing that they all did have though is a training. And you do have to have that training to at least understand the fundamentals. I've ran into so many people that don't know where to start and they're picking up just random books. Like one person I met who took a couple classes from me, she's like, was like, oh, this is like, I don't understand any of this. And I'm like, well, how long have you been practicing? And she's like, a year. And she'd read Raymond Buckland's books, which is fine, but he's very advanced.
That's okay. Something, but
I'm like, you started with some, like, because he's so proper. I'm like, why don't you go to, I'm like, start with Scott Cunningham's Wicca. I mean, like, that's a really good one to start with. Christopher Penczak's great. Like, there's a lot of them that are great to start with, but I'm like, wow, you happen to, like, just out the gate, you picked like one of the hardest people to go to.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, gotta give her credit, but it's just like you went from A to like M.
Yes. And so, like, I spent a little time with her, and I'm like, yeah, you need to like get these little fundamentals first, because like you're jumping in, and Raymond Buckland just assumes that you have all the fundamentals, and he's also like extremely intelligent. I mean, you're like Robin Artisan. You can't just go pick up one of his books and just start practicing. You have to have fundamentals laid down. So there's a lot of witches out there that are just extremely intelligent. Yeah, go ahead, Fred.
Yeah, but even like, and I mean, regardless of what people say about Cunningham, he does give a really strong foundational, and I mean, his urban encyclopedia, I still uses that thing to this day. And I mean, even in the beginning of that, he breaks down like the elemental associations with each plant and how to use that plant in a certain specific type of elemental connection ritual. I mean, that's like core.
Yes. My true belief with Scott Cunningham is he gave us so much knowledge and wisdom. And his books, like, he's extremely intelligent, but he gave that foundation and made sure like you could build on the foundation.
Yeah, and I think I know he's done the Wicca book. I know he's done one about the herbs, of course. And I think he did one about crystals and gemstones also, I think.
Yes, he did. I actually own all his books. So he's got Solitary Wicca, Living Solitary Wicca, like, or more advanced Solitary Wicca. I can't remember the titles. One is blue and one is green. The first one's green. He's got the crystal book. He's got the element book, the herb book, which the herb book is fantastic. Mm-hmm. And there's the kitchen witchery book.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure there's one more. I do have all of his books. Very, very sad that we lost him. He was so young.
Yeah, and I mean, like what I said, he's regardless of like what practice you have, even if it's like a traditional thing or not, it is just that good like starting point that anybody can just jump off of.
Mm-hmm. It is. So like I always tell everybody, he just puts in, and he also writes so poetically.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're reading him, you're just like, wow. Yeah. Even the herb book, it's like, wow. Mm-hmm. I actually have two. I keep one in my basement and I keep one in my upstairs, because if I'm in my kitchen making something, I like have it handy to grab. I try to do most of my witchcraft stuff down here because my witch room, I'm literally in my witch room right now. But There are times I'm doing stuff in my kitchen because I actually need like the stove. So, yeah, I was like, I'm just gonna get a second copy instead of running up and down the stairs all the time.
And it even also had me like when I was actually legitimately reading it instead of using it as a reference book. I mean, I learned some herbs that I didn't even know existed. Like the one that I just never forgotten was called Yahombe, which is which is it's a love resin, but it is poisonous.
Yes, yes, and he didn't have too many. I laugh at the belladonna though, because his little section on belladonna is like, just don't use it.
Yeah, she's beautiful, she's lovely.
Just don't use it. It's literally like 2 sentences, and it's like, okay. Granted, I actually work the poison path, so I'm like up there with like mass like people who so belladonna is my friend, so but yes, that it's really funny to look at that. But yeah, I think that he's core, really, and Starhawk of course is core too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I also had started a coven with a couple other people because there are a couple of us high priestesses, and I will say that Starhawk does bring up in the book that you do have to have dedicated people, and some people are couch witches. And, you do need to, if you're going to have a coven, you want to make sure everybody's going to be there and be in attendance, because there is a bond that you have. And so when you get a couch witch that joins, the person who just does it whenever they want, or they are very knowledgeable because they've read a lot, but they don't practice, that's not helpful. So, unfortunately, like, even though paganism and witchcraft is supposed to be very open and loving, you do still, like, you need to be able to actually have members that are going to be there and present. Most of the time, the people who don't show up to things end up like, we don't hear from them after a while, and then they never show up again. But we'll be like, where are they? Like, they said they wanted to do this. So
Yeah, and I mean, and that's really the thing is that there's what if you're going on your own to just learn something on your own as like a solitary. The thing is, when you're doing that, that's more like you're doing it for yourself. You're putting yourself as the primary.
yeah.
But when when you're going into a coven or a group and they're doing these dedication things and all that, but once you do that dedication thing, yeah, you're stuck to it.
Yes.
It's like you're making a contract agreement essentially. Once
Yeah.
you make it, you're stuck with it.
Yes. Yes. And she does talk about that. And she also talks about how, you do have to have that training. And
And
you
the high
do.
priestess title, yeah, it's not something that gets thrown around. People
No.
that say like, "Oh, I'm a high priestess of this," are you sure
Yes.
you know
Have
what
you
you're
had the
saying?
training? Yeah. Because it is really like, so the first school that I found, because they did call it a witchcraft school, and it's not the one by Devon Hunter, because they've got the Modern Witchcraft University, but it was a different witchcraft school, and I cannot remember the name. That sounds awful. Like, I do have my certificates of completion because I was granted priestess from them, and then it happened to go, like, one of my other teachers was doing high priestess training, which I was like, okay, because I kind of started over, but it was all good because it was a little different. But the first one I did, they literally, you would get via email, you would get probably 40 pages, and you had, I think it was like, yes, you had a minimum of 2 weeks to go through, and then you had to take a test and write an essay. So it was like, it was school.
That's how it should be.
Yes, it should be that way. So the other one I did, because most of the people had at least the initial training or were in covens, it wasn't until we hit like the priestess level or priest level, as we were training the higher levels, where she started doing the tests.
Hmm.
Because when she asked, everybody's like, oh, we're either in a coven or we did, so. But yeah, it's really important because I've run into people all the time that don't understand the foundations.
Hmm.
I'll have people sign up for one of my advanced witchcraft classes, and you've got to have the foundations. And then I feel bad because I've got advanced students who have the foundations, and then somebody's like, but the class sounded really cool, which is fine. But then I have to like kind of go over some of the foundational stuff.
And I was even at like a this was like a long ago. I was even thinking about like having like starting my own like learning this like I guess I don't even know what you call that, but I then stopped and kind of thought about it and thinking if I'm going to be even making something like that, I really have to be really thinking about how am I going to be able to present this and make it known that okay, you gotta have first have this, then you can go through this, then you can go to that, then you can go to that. And I was thinking about just making it just like a kind of like a how they have it in a generalized like college system. Like
Mm-hmm.
you have the foundation, then you have the intro, then you have the intermediate, then you have the advanced, kind of like that ladder thing.
Yeah.
But I never got
Well, and that's kind of like the one I did
it.
online. That's kind of how they had it, and they had different people teaching different sections, which was
Hmm.
really nice because some people had specialized like in chaos magic. So when you learned stuff that was associated with chaos magic, even just the fundamentals, that was your teacher. When you were learning color magic, that was your so like there were specific teachers for different aspects, which was really, really nice. Because you did have at least like you had different people. So yeah, we had a lecture and then you had like the packet and then you had to do a multiple choice test and an essay, which was fine. And you had to do what did they call it? You had to like write on a deity. So you could pick any deity, but like so every section you had to pick a different deity. So it was actually really cool because I work with the Celtic gods and I work with the Norse gods. So in that time period, I was able to like study and learn about each god to do like this paper on the gods because you had to do each of the gods. So it was really nice because I was able to like hit each of them in the pantheons that I was most interested in.
That really makes me just even want to be like, oh, I have to write about a certain god. Here's my first book. Here's my second one.
Yeah.
Here's my fourth.
Yes, you would know that. Yeah. Well, and actually, like that's what like there's some that I'm like I could almost write a book on this now, but I mean there are some like like with the Morgan, I have so many books from her. On
Oh,
her.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean because
the
there's
amount of material you can write a book about with her, I mean,
yeah.
oh, woo.
Yeah. So all right, so the next question is how does the coven structure compare to most other religions? This is kind of a fun one.
Okay, now the thing with let's see how we're gonna go about and tackle this one. Now, the thing with a coven, it is, in my opinion, it is more of an independent, organized system compared to, like, say, with Abrahamic, how it has the many denominations of it, and it's not having that like really over the top denomination splitting from one into many more. It's just that one. And I mean, maybe you could even have it have like its own like a denomination of it that's set, but it doesn't go much further than that. But when it gets to like really so denominate, I don't even know if that's a word, denominationized. We're gonna go with it.
Sounds
It gets to that point where it loses itself essentially.
well, and they're huge groups. I mean, I think back like when I was in the Christian cult that I was in, and they have churches everywhere. But I look back at that and it was very patriarchal. You followed very strict lots of strict rules. That's like one thing is covens don't really have there are some Wiccan groups might have stricter rules on things, but they're not going to be as strict as some of the organized religions are. like with you can't have this kind of food and you can only pray at this time, and um, but they're big. When we look at religious groups, they're huge. Like you wouldn't know everybody that was attending church. I went to one, a guy I was dating. He's like, oh, we got to go see this. So I went with them to this church, and it was the church he was going to. And they literally put on theater productions every Sunday. Like they would rehearse Monday through Friday or Saturday, and then they would put on this huge theater production with lights and sound, and I was like, oh my gosh, and it was huge. The they called it an auditorium, or the chapel auditorium or something. It was chapel and auditorium was in the name, and you felt like you were actually at like a cross between a stadium and a theater. But I mean, it was really neat. Like they would act out like stories from the Bible, so that was kind of cool. But it was I was like, oh wow, and it was huge. There was no way you'd even know. Like I remember saying to the guy, "Do you even know anybody who goes there?" And he only knew a couple people, and I mean, it was really intimidating how many people were there. I thought, because I'm not like. I mean, it was a huge, I would say there was at least 1,000 people in the congregation. So pretty overwhelming, you know?
Yeah, and with having so many people in a confined space like that, like, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But sometimes when it gets to that extreme level, and by extreme, we're talking like about some, places being a mega place. Like, okay, we get it. Wait a minute. Why are you having your service with some person coming down on like a? Is he attached to something in the roof and you just swinging him through? Okay, that's hazardous. But I mean,
Yes.
there.
And you say that apparently, because I remember the guy told me at Christmas time they had angels come from the ceiling. So yes.
And I mean, you have to admit, there's absolutely, in fact, it is quite. It's nice to show how people are so committed to showing like their practice like that, but at the same time, you also have to take a perspective of like, well, it doesn't. Yeah, it if it just to me it kind of feels like, are you doing this because it's your truth, or are you doing this for the extreme over the top shebang of it? Is it performance or is it genuine?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Well, and I kind of I was like, how do you not know anybody? Because I thought the Christian church the Christian cult church I was in, I thought it was like a little bit big and overwhelming, you know. But I was like, oh, this is way bigger, you know. So so I mean that's like one thing is she does talk about like the organized, like they are large groups, and they usually have a structure they follow. So you could go into any Christian church today, because they would have had mass today. You could go to like 5 of them, and they're all going to be a similar mass because they're following like the guidelines. And you run into that with a lot of the big churches. They have, their curriculum.
Yep, and there's some that do, like, say, for example, Catholicism. They have like their specific figures that they go and pray to, and then there's like other denominations that are just like the Lutheran, but they do somewhat still have that same, and I say somewhat same, core foundation, no, that they go by. But sometimes it does kind of make it. It just.
Yeah.
It's really hard to even put my finger on it because it's just so it's been morphed so many times. It's like I don't know where the ground is to put my feet on.
Yes, yes. Well, and they're all kind of different because you can go to one and like they sing the song at a different time. I mean, they do usually have kind of the same setup, but they do vary. Well, Well, at least in the Christian religions. It's been a while. I did go to a Buddhist temple once.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, and the thing with involved, and that's also why I also like in like Hinduism how they have their specific their I can't remember exactly the name, but they have like um there's the there's the Shakti Devi. I can't remember the exact names of it, but there's like they have like each specific form of deity is like they have their own thing that's established. Like there's one even for like for and each deity has like its own temple that is meant for. Like Saturn has his own temple, and and I'm completely losing my mind. It's gone mad when I don't know, but I mean that's like the diversity in Hinduism and how each one is unique. Now that's kind of in a way I wouldn't call that like a coven, but in a way it is. But it follows those strict guidelines.
Yeah. So, and I would say another thing about covens is they are smaller groups. So we do have that huge difference between large and small groups. Starhawk says that covens should have 13 members. Now, I do know covens that have way more than 13. And there really is no hard and fast rule about how many members should be in a coven. I know like some will say 13, and then when you get too many members, the next high priest or high priestess should break off and start like a branch. And I know that does happen, but not all the time, because I also know that there are larger covens. I don't know that they get as big as like some churches, but and each coven is autonomous. So there are no hard, fast rules. If you follow like the Wiccan Rede, yeah, you're going to have a list of rules that you're going to follow there. Or if you're in ceremonial magic, there are going to be rules. Like if you are part of a Freemasons in the Order of the Eastern Star, there are going to be rules that you're going to follow. Druidism has rules, but there's no hard, fast rules. And you're going to see different practices.
Yeah. And even like with American Native tribes. Oh well, I mean they have oh boy. Ooh. Even like I'm even trying to be careful like how I even say it. But that friend of mine that lives on the reservation, and he's actually full American Native. He even was like informing me like about like how they have their thing, whatever, and they pretty much say that the custom of it is like they have their own unique day, unique time that they go and do their thing, and everything is so specific that it's like it's not even questioned in the tribe. It's just something that is just expected of them, and they can't break it.
Yeah. Yeah, so it is really interesting because we all have a little bit of crossover, but not a lot. And with witchcraft, it's a free for all, but it's not. It's an organized free for all. It's organized chaos.
That does exist. Nothing's more beautiful than organized chaos. A lot going on, but everything's in flow.
Yes, yes. And I'm literally the epitome because my husband likes to be really like organized, and I'm a fire sign. I mean, he's a water sign. He's like way more organized than me. But he'll be like, why did you pull everything out of this cupboard to just put clean dishes away? I'm like, it's organized chaos. Just let me do my thing.
Every pile of plates and every pile of silverware has its place.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yes. So, it's like anytime I do anything, I go big. Like if I reorganize a drawer, it's like, he'll be like, I thought you were putting clothes away. Oh, yes, but I have my weird way of doing it. So it is what it is. And that's kind of covens. Covens are organized chaos. So, all right. The third question is, why is humor considered essential in the rituals? And she talks about like how it was really essential in her compost coven, which The name is funny because yes, they came up with the name because were all like recycling and environmentalists. So it is.
Oh, I mean, that's nice. I mean, that's nice though, because I mean, when you hear the word compost, you think, what the heck is going on in here?
Mhm. Yes.
But the beautiful thing is that compost and recycling, and even and even waste, it does have its place.
It
If
does.
we give it back to the earth, that's how the plants are able to sustain themselves and nourish themselves. So
Exactly.
it's like, it's a. I mean,
Fun name.
I have to give props to that one because you have something that's humor. It's nourishing the person, and it's also nourishing the earth at the same time. So I mean, got to give that credit to that one.
It's the cycles of the seasons. I mean, like literally in their name, compost coven. I mean, how cool is
Yeah,
that?
but it even also kind of honors that natural order.
Yes.
Something is the foundation; it grows, gets to adulthood, then it slowly goes withers away, then it comes back up again.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, which is really nice. So she does talk about humor. So the big thing is how is humor essential?
Well, I mean, quite well. Humor can kind of also show how, like, if somebody makes an oopsie during the middle of a ritual. I mean, you at times too, people get too like hyper serious when they're doing like a certain ritual and they're like in the motion of it. Like, say they're like doing the lesser banishment ritual and they're pointing in the directions and say when they point they drop and it goes swing point. It's forward. And I mean, in moments like that, of course, some people will be like, "Oh, you messed it up." But
Yes.
instead, rather just be all like, "Oh, at least Mr. Toesy."
Hmm.
You had to pick it up and move it plus and try it again.
Well, like I said, like I love to laugh, and the group that just was randomly getting together that had the Karens, they didn't like some of us who our personalities, we were letting our personalities come out. And I mean, that was kind of one of the reasons I stopped going because I was like, you're going to talk like you're not making this fun. But yeah, you have to have humor. I mean, laughter is a very important medicine. I mean, it really is. It's we need to be able to laugh and smile and you
Yeah,
can't do
there
that.
is. I can try and remember her name. What's her name? In the Greek mythology, she's the what is her name? I think it was because of her she was able to cheer up Persephone when no not Persephone her Persephone's mother.
Yeah.
Yeah, when she was down. Crud, what is her
I
name?
can't remember her name either, but like I can remember because I have a big huge book on Persephone and Dimitri.
Oh, this is driving me
Yeah,
nuts.
and she
That's
brought up
I'm going for it. I'm going to go find it.
all right, we're gonna let you pull that out because now, yes, because it'll bother me all night, and then I'll wake my husband in the middle of the night because I'll remember, and I'll be like, and he'll be like, "What? What are you waking me up for?"
What's wrong? Oh, I just remember the specific
I've done
battles.
that with like we'll have a conversation, I'll forget something, and then I remember, and he's like, "Seriously, you're waking me up to tell me what it was."
See, and actually, funny enough, She's in the Dark Goddess Tarot. Even though I kind of find it weird that she would be considered a dark goddess, but we'll see.
Well, some of the dark goddesses don't. I mean, like look at Sekhmet. I mean, she is literally a goddess of the sun, and we don't have very many, but she is a dark goddess. It's because of her destructive side.
Here she is. I cannot pronounce her name.
Oh yeah, I can't pronounce it either. So we'll just let pronounce it on their own.
Well, she's the Greek. Let me get to what the book says. She is the Siren of Earth. Here it is. Okay, also called Lambe, is the goddess of the belly laugh. She takes part in Demeter and Persephone's story, a story of fertility and renewal, the story upon the great Eleusinian mysteries. She represents the power of laughter to activate the power in the nasty and the power of creation. and she originally was a woman of Eleusis and welcomes Demeter. Demeter, who has wandered dressed in old robes, grief-stricken in search for her daughter. Babo gives Demeter a seat by the fire and offers her the sacred drink of Kakin, brewed from barley, honey, and pennyroyal. Demeter is unresponsive, remaining I can't pronounce the word, and silent. Baba begins to tell bawdy jokes. And yeah, well, okay. It's like Babo is it's a humorous and a bit it's humorous and levity and go where rant and reason cannot. Laughter and laugh and smile deliberately and see if it helps. And for a group healing, take turns laughing artificially, making the sounds as you can. Keep going around the circle until real laughter overtakes the show. I mean, that could be like a coven practice of it.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. I think laughter is just like you need to have it not just in coven, but you need to have it everywhere. And there are times we do need to be serious during rituals and ceremonies, but not all the time. I mean, I think about like a lot of the sabbats. Sabbats are just fun, so we should be laughing with joy. Yeah, sometimes new moon and like some of the new moons, like, oh my gosh, when you get like Pisces and new moon, that's usually like an intense. So if you can laugh, that's good.
And it's good for. I mean, laughter not only is good for that, but it's also good because when you do laugh, you're making your body kind of vibrate, and when you're vibrating with like at a more molecular level, you're kind of it's like you're jolting and shaking the cells in a way. So, like, say if you have I mean, this is going like really hyper focus mode, but like if you have like say somewhat of like a clot, or if like there's a potential of a clot starting to form, just laughing and like like a nonstop laugh, in time having that laugh and trying to like catch your breath, that movement helps circulation too.
It does.
And it also, of course, gives you a nice ab workout too.
It brings you to a higher vibration.
So you have that vibration of like, oh, I'm stuck in the mud, really? Yep.
Yeah, it's important. We love laughter. Laughter and singing. You will get lots of that here. I was teaching a class and started making up a song. So, yes, laughter and singing, very important. All right, so the next question I have is, what are key aspects of power from within a coven? And this can be, she kind of touches on a couple different things with power. So I'm looking at it two aspects. The energy as power that we raise, and I'm also looking at it as the power that maybe the high priest or high priestess has. There are a lot of spiritual and religious groups out there that there are people who sorry, I'm trying to I know I can't say that word, who take advantage of people and try to overthrow and have power over people. I know, like, there's that one, it's the Weird Story. It's the spiritual group, Love Has Won. And
oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yes, and they were like, the leader was like anorexic and had all these health issues, so she was taking clotted silver and way, way, way too much, and her skin was waxy and blue. Yeah. And then she alienated the Hawaiians and said that she was the goddess Pele. And got kicked out of Hawaii. And then yeah, you didn't know that?
No. Oh, Lord.
Yes. the 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 documentary on it is very, very interesting. But, she was exuding too much power. So, when I say what are the key aspects of power from within a coven, we can talk from both aspects. So, why don't we start with what type of power a coven should have and when the power is unhealthy and you need to walk away?
Well, the power. I mean, of course, I'm looking at it from more the like the preservation of a traditional practice. That's like really the real power of it because you're keeping something that was started long before your time. You're keeping that going, and the ancestry that's attached to it. You're keeping that going. It's just like with that oh, where is that called? Like this. I think it's at I'm gonna try my best to remember right. The fire that's in is it Bridget's fire? That's the one that's continuously lit, continuously on fire. Yeah, like that for an example. Keeping that going, that's like power right there. That fire has been lit; it hasn't gone out. So that in its own, that's upkept by the coven there, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I mean that's an example of that power, and it's keeping something going that has ancestry going back. Oh, I can't even say how long, but that's like the power of a tradition, and that's what also makes it sacred because it's so regularly upkept that it just has this different energy than just grabbing a lighter and going, "Oh look, fire." Okay, but that one, it's like I don't even know how long, like aeons of being lit. That it just has that reverence to it. But when it gets to like the power of like going cray and mad and thinking that it's okay to be all like, well, if you all of you people look at me, notice me, I'm this, and I have a message for you all, and it is that the holy face has said you're full of BS. No, you're not that. It's more like a how do I put this? It's like well, it's just like somebody putting like taking a name tag and slapping the word guru on it. Like, no, it's like it gets out of hand when somebody's using it beyond what it's really intended to do. And using a title like guru, which by the way, if you call yourself a notice me guru, you just completely took the meaning of that word away from yourself. Because at least how I was taught, a guru, you don't like calling yourself a guru, it doesn't come from you, it comes from those who you teach.
Yes.
That's what my mentor taught me.
And that's
Guru is
actually
funny
when
enough. Yeah.
when you read about it. Now, I do tell people to be their own spiritual gurus.
Yes, that's different. That's way
But
different.
that's also because I came from a cult and I know how bad they can be and how unsafe they can be. So, and you'll see it. I mean, I've literally like one of my teachers, and I learned a lot from her. I took classes from her for 5 years, and I started to see a shift. And it wasn't a good shift. I started to like, and actually, she has aged a lot. Like, I look at pictures of her from when I started taking classes with her to when I quit. And I quit 2 years ago taking classes from her. And she's aged a lot. But when she started, she would teach the classes and they were in Zoom. It ended up going to a private YouTube channel. So you had to join the YouTube. You could watch the replay or you could join it live, but she wouldn't answer everybody's questions. So she started really small with maybe 100 of us. And then it got a little bigger and then it got bigger. And when I stopped, she had over 3,000 students. And so if you had like a question, you were lucky if it got answered, So it was like you couldn't, like, it was like, well, how are we supposed to learn if you can't answer the questions for us? And you could email her, But you may not get an answer because, again, she has 3,000 students and cannot give people one on one attention. But when she started, she would maybe like have a tarot deck and she'd be like, I'll do readings for everybody. And she'd start doing readings at like the end of class. And somebody'd say, Ooh, I love that card. And they'd say, What deck are you using? And she'd be like, Oh, this is the Shadowscape tarot deck. It hit a point where, and this was about the last 2 years I was there, she would grab a deck of cards and she wouldn't grab the box. So you would just see the deck. So you had no idea what the deck was. And she would read with them. And if you liked the deck and you were like, oh, what's that deck? She would say, I can't tell you because it's not, I don't carry it in my shop. So,
Oh,
so
oh,
when
that
that,
shift right there, that says it all.
yep.
Possessed by money.
Yes. And so when that started happening, it was really bothering me. And so I was like, wait, okay, I get 4 classes a month. I'm paying $120 for these classes. She has 3,000 students that attend live.
Can't answer that simple question.
Yeah. And
Because
you
I
can't
mean,
answer that question because you want everybody to buy stuff from you. And if you don't carry it in your shop, you're not going to share it. And when she started out, she does have a Facebook group, and everybody that was paid taking her classes, you could be in the group, and people would say, "What was the cards that the teacher was using?" And again, in the beginning, anybody could answer. It hit a point where we don't carry it in my shop. It's not one of my products, and then they would delete your post.
I don't like that because it's just like, in a way, it's kind of. I mean, I'm kind of just gonna say it for how it is. It's essentially taking the blessing from like whichever deity this she was primarily associated with. The deity blesses her with this growth and expansion, but now she's choosing the financial gain of it instead of keeping it like as it was.
Yes,
And
yes.
that's no.
And she is now, so when I first started taking from her, she wasn't worth a lot of money. She had an Etsy shop and her online website. And now she's worth multi-million dollars. And it blows my mind because like I'm in one group still, and they delete posts all the time, and then people will be like, I don't understand why my post was deleted. And it's like, yeah, because they are trying to control the narrative. They're trying to control you, and they are trying to force you to give them all your money. So I watched it shift from like up here, a really high vibrational spiritual, and it has shifted down because now it's all about control and money.
And that's the dangerous thing with with having anything pertaining to the spirituality and the practice, and having it be exposed to mass corporation, because the
Yes.
corporation will infect it and make it tank and make it become just a vessel and doesn't have any life to it. And
Yes.
you need to have the life of it, otherwise it's going to be a blank robot and just do what it's programmed to do. And nobody wants that.
No. And the classes even started shifting to where it was like, I'm just going to grab a crystal that's right here. They'd be like, we're going to talk about this crystal, the Yoper Light Dragon Head. And if you participated in the products this month, you have this. So please take it out of your box. And they would literally, the whole class was around the crystal that you should have bought.
Oh my gosh. And I mean,
And it's like,
immediately, immediately it made me think of that guy that did that dry ice commercial. So here is some amethyst. Amethyst is a purple quartz stone. It is used for, your initiation into anything of the spiritual. It helps you with your stuff that you're addicted to. It helps you be able to have the clarity. It helps you to have insight. Any questions? Didn't think so. We'll
But
be
you
moving
needed
on
to
next
buy
week.
it from her. You can't buy it from anybody
Make
else.
sure you only buy from her because all the other amethysts is just dyed with red and purple blue dye.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was like, I can't do this anymore. I was like, all my respect just started going downhill. And I can't believe I stayed for 2 years, like when it started happening. But I was like, I know she's got wisdom and everything. And I'm like, did she run out? Is she no longer studying? And now it's like, so I was like, whatever. I need to be gone.
And the bad thing with that too is like with when you have something start to grow, and then when there's somebody that's wanting to enterprise it, and that's why I'm so glad that I got drilled in my head at an early age. Whenever there's something in front of you, an opportunity, you read everything on that piece of paper front and back with a magnifying glass before you sign it at all. Because as far as we know, she might have made a deal with someone, signed it, and now is stuck having to follow that terms and conditions.
She could be. But oddly enough, she has written 4 or 5 books. She has a doctorate degree. So before she quit, she was in education. So she was a professor at a college. Before she quit teaching, whatever topic it was she was teaching in a university level. Okay, university level, and she has a PhD in education. Okay, I want to stress that. She's written 4 or 5 books. Not one book has a bibliography in the back. Do
That
you
is
not
all
care where her
that's that.
education came from? And
Oh.
she has a PhD in education, not in spirituality, not in paganism. You can't get that in paganism. In
Yeah,
education.
educate. How? Well, I mean, imagine she had a doctorate in it. Oh, good God. I would be even more flabbergasted. Like, you have a what?
It is a doctorate. It's a PhD. So she should know. I knew in undergrad there is an outline whenever you do a paper. If you use Starhawk, you reference Starhawk. You reference where you learned from.
Mhm.
And she does not reference any of it. And you know she didn't make it up, especially like she's got 2 of them are crystal books. And she puts in there on the Mohs hardness scale. Well, why do you have nothing, no bibliography? Because you didn't invent the Mohs hardness scale. So where did you learn about it?
And better yet, who came up with the most hardness scale?
Exactly. Yes. So when we talk power, that is where, like, there are people like that. It doesn't matter if it's in the spiritual or religious arena or political arena or medical arena. It's really sad. And I don't know, like when I see it, I run. I know like there was my Reiki master did an extra healing process with a woman. And I was really intrigued by it. So I got all this woman's books and everything. And then I kind of noticed the same thing, like she was becoming a cult. And
And
actually,
it's so
Hulu did a
easy to
documentary
fall
on that
into.
person, and she's waterboarding people. So part of her healing process is to waterboard people.
Oh, God,
I mean,
no.
who does this? That's not healing people. That's
Yeah, that's like you're traumatizing
You're
them.
traumatizing them. You are taking their trauma and you are traumatizing them more. So, yeah, so we do need to be careful. I know, like, she doesn't really touch on that, but she does touch on that we shouldn't exert power over others, that is not healthy. And I know there are covens out there that do that.
Mm-hmm.
I know, like, our coven, we vote, so it's like, who can attend this week, or should we do, what kind of ritual should we do? Like everybody votes, so it's a democracy. Yeah, there's a high priestess who's a leader, but there's a democracy.
I'd even, just me personally, if I was like being put in that position to make a coven, I would at least just have 3 founding people.
Yeah.
That way, there's that balance,
Yes.
and that way nobody can be over tyrannical and just push one thing.
Yeah, actually, and like, well, I had there were 3 of us that founded the coven. I actually had to talk to two of them, the other two, because they were supposed to help carry some of the workload. Because when you run a coven, it is a lot of work. I mean, it really is.
It is the organization, the timing,
Yeah.
and making sure yep, it is.
And
And even you can even put it as a tax exempt too.
oh, that I well, oh, you have to apply for the tax exempt status though.
Yeah, and if you have an ordained minister, there you go.
Yes, you can. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember I talked to the other two ladies because they were supposed to help carry part of the load. And I mean, I'd be like, I'd show up and then one of them would say, "Oh, I'm not coming now." And they were supposed to bring like the libations. It's like, "Oh, so we have a ritual that we are calling on the god and the goddess to bless our food and beverage and you're not coming and you're the one who's
Um,
supposed to bring it."
and at that point, it's just like, oh, you're not coming, are you? What do you think the god and the goddess is going to respond with like that?
Yeah.
Oh, you're not coming? Well, I didn't ask you if you wanted to come. Come on, let's go.
Yeah, so I literally would run to the convenience store and grab like a Pepsi and like Twinkies, because I was like, what am I going to do? I got to go to like the convenience store, the gas station near the forest preserve, and what do they have that we can have? So that's also hard is like when people are not dedicated enough, when they say they're dedicated, but they're not. So that also becomes an issue too in covens.
Yeah, and saying that you're dedicated, but then not put in and actually show and do the actual expectations, it's in a way misrepresentation.
Yes.
That's a big no-no.
Yes. Yes, 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 it can be. Yes. So unfortunately the other two people who started the coven with me, they actually they were mad at me when I like was like, I need you guys to pull your share. And they left and I'm like, well, I'm still here. So but you know, yeah, we do have to watch out for people who exert power over others. Like, you have to do this way. You need to be careful. People get that power hungry and it goes to their head. Um, the other part of this though with power is the power in the coven. The cool thing is when you are practicing with multiple people, you can raise this amazing energy that can connect you to the divine, whichever deity you're working with. And it's just a beautiful, amazing power. And so whether you're treading the mill or dancing or singing or chanting, like there's all these beautiful things that you can actually do to raise the energy within the coven or the power of the coven as a group as a whole. And you think about it, like this happens with even like, I know there have been a lot of protests and stuff going on. That energy from the protests, when you have a lot of people that have the same thought process, the like-mindedness, that puts out a lot of energy and power. And so that's like one of the big pluses, I think, to coven practice.
Yep. And when it's like, for an example, when you have, like, say, if a few people doing a certain thing for a certain deity, there can be. I've actually seen this happen one time. You can see how deity responds and manifests with all that energy, even if it's for just like a second or around or even less. That's like your confirmation of like, whoa, yep.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. So, all right. Okay, here's another question. Why is the practice of working alone considered less ideal than working in a coven? There's pros and cons.
Oh, I mean, now this is kind of putting me on my uh, on my game here because now don't get me wrong. The advantages of being solitary, though, you're able to have that discernment for yourself. And truthfully, if you don't have discernment for yourself, you're easily susceptible to a group's influence or whatever thing that you're associated with. It's like you give up that part that is yourself. But at the same time, the coven gives you structure. It can give you structure. It can give you avenues of support. it can even also enhance your ability to understand things from a different perspective. And it can also be, in a way, also an, a source of affirmation that's not coming from you. But at the same time, those same positive things can also be seen as a potential risk, too.
Yeah, yeah, as long as you're with like a like-minded group and it's a safe group.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would hope most groups are safe, but you know what? We see it with everything. I mean, like look at like David Koresh with Waco. I mean, look at what, that wasn't a safe.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm bringing up all these cults tonight. Sorry, everybody. Not all covens are like that, though. I mean, there are a lot that are very safe, and I've done both, and there are pros and cons to both. There really are. So I know sometimes like I'll even do a ritual by myself and not with my coven because it's like there's something that I need that the coven doesn't need at that time. So it's like they don't need this, but I do. So it's okay. So there are times I do practice solitary by myself anyway. So I think there's pros and cons. And it's nice that we can actually be solitary or be in a coven, that we have that choice and it's our choice, which that's like an important thing. It's you get to be your authentic self and you get to have your choice. And I think that's like really critical.
And I think even another good thing too with it too is that I mean even look at it from like the goddess or the god's perspective. You're having like your children come and do something for you, but then you still have a child still coming to you individually. It's kind of like looking at it from like their perspectives. Like, okay, everybody's coming in to see me. Okay, great. Oh, this one's just coming to see me. I mean, that's even a more good, beautiful way of looking at it because it's still showing that from no matter how many people giving that reference, the reference is still being given.
Yes. 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 And sometimes we have, because also like, um, everybody's going to have a different experience. So if you do a ritual calling on Sekhmet, for example, everybody's going to have a different experience how Sekhmet makes herself present. And there might even be people who like Sekhmet doesn't make herself present. So, but it is, so there's pros and cons. There really, really, truly is to both.
And even like, at least for me, but well, I mean I I'm trying not to laugh because at the time when it happened, I went from like, okay, I'm kind of a little bit like in the heebie jeebie mode right now, was when I first actually made that invitation to her. And as soon as I finished speaking that invitation, I heard a boom boom Naru go loud. I'm like, oh, okay, hello. Not the face, please, but something like that. In even I was thinking, I guess that's a modern way of confirmation because it came out of nowhere and it sounded like it came from like behind me, and I was sitting on my bed and I was just in that focus and I was saying it out loud. Then I heard that come from behind, which would have been there's like behind where I was at, there was the road and then there was another house there. The sound came from like being behind my window. It was that close and that loud. And I'm thinking, okay, that is definitely a confirmation, even though I was kind of expecting like a loud roar, but that like okay.
And see, sometimes like some of my experiences with connecting with a deity, I'm glad that it was private and personal, you know? So, especially like a first time connection.
Oh yeah, like I mean, how I wrote in my book about hell. I mean, I go into all the details of first encountering her, and I don't think I've ever showed you this. I caught her on in a photo. Let me see if I can grab it.
Brent always has really cool stuff to he share and tells it with us. A lot of really great stuff. And I want to, while Bren's grabbing that, I want to thank everybody who has donated gifts tonight. We really, really, really appreciate it. Never expected. And for everybody who's given hearts, thank you so much. If you can actually hit the heart and the like a little bit more, I'd love that so that we can get up into a different league. So that would be like awesome. So I've kind of been in the same league for a while, and I'd love to bump up it a little bit. So tonight we are talking about, it's Witchy Book Club, and it is The Spiral Dance by Starhawk. And while we wait for Bren to share his experience, this is really about embracing and connecting with the goddess. Chapter 3 is on the coven. So we are talking about the covens, and we're also kind of like, we're really veering a little bit away because it does give us some inspiration to talk about being our authentic self and really embracing our spirituality, whether alone or in a coven, and the benefits to both. There are benefits to both. So really important for us to be able to use that. So I'm sure Bren will be back soon. I could sing the Jeopardy song. Do, 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 do. So there we go. I know you never know what we're going to sing when you come here. So, because I do think we sing at least once alive. I could be wrong, but I do think we sing at least once alive as we wait for Bren. So, so while we wait, I will jump to, she talks about sharing personal stories. It's becoming vulnerable in the coven. You get a really strong, close-knit coven, and you get a deeper level and you reinforce bonds. And, you think about it like larger religious and spiritual groups, you don't have that because you don't have that ability to be able to sit and bond. So that it would be a benefit to making sure that you have a coven that doesn't have a ton of people, because if you have like a giant coven, you're not going to have that closeness. And, there is something to it, being close with people. And we all need people. People need people. That's like been proven, especially like, I think we all experienced it because when the COVID stay home order went into effect, we did have our phones and stuff, but how many times were you like, oh, I miss just going out with my friends? So, because everything was closed for a while. So, we think about that. We do have to have others. Ooh, so Brian, do you have your share and tell now? Hoping you're still there. You're on mute if you were talking.
Yep, I'm here. I'm just, okay, here we go. Let's see. We're going to let that load. And there's one. Can you see her?
Ooh, kind of. I can see it looks like her hair's up at the top and like part of her face is up at the top.
Yep. And yes. We'll scooch over into this one. Oh, we can't see that one that well, so let me fix it.
Ooh. Ooh. So we were talking about how sometimes how goddesses or deities in general make themselves aware and bring messages to us and bring those divine cosmic messages that are going to help us grow and become better people. So Bren will be back as he fixes that. So there we go. I was going to start singing Jeopardy again.
There's a better picture of the face.
Wow. That is really intense.
Yep, and interestingly, when I took that, I was walking and I was putting something away in the sink, and I looked past the front door, and then I just look, because the way that the house was there was my room, and then there was the hallway to straight down that goes into another bedroom, and then the bathroom was to the right. Then to the left there is a way that you can go down, turn left, go down a little bit, and turn right into the kitchen. Then there's this long walkway that you can also go to the kitchen and just go straight up, left, and then down, and then you turn left in the kitchen. I walked out of my room, and I walked straight past, and this was actually the front door. And if you notice, like right in between the two eyes, that's the door, that's the peephole that you can look through. And that was at the front door. inside the house. So I'm walking over there and I just take a glance over, and then I just see her like that, standing there. I look over and I do a double take, and she's just still standing there, looking right at me. And I was thinking, I hell, just stood there. And then I just took the photo. She still stood there, still stood there. I walked up closer to her, still didn't move, still didn't move. And as soon as I put my hand on the door, that's when she just dissipated. And I mean, at first, I mean, if anybody else was to see that, they'd be like, "What the heck was that?" But for me, that was probably, if not one of the most like reassuring and most comforting things for me, because during that time period, it was not in the best of places, but that was what I needed.
Yeah, and it also shows like again, like that's a better experience for you to have had alone versus in a coven. And some people in a coven, had they experienced that, their reaction may have been different. And I know I see it when we do spiritual work, I can tell there's a few people that don't quite connect yet with spirits. So, it is hard, and you feel bad because you're like, I want you to have this experience, but we can't force that. It comes in time as we grow. I'm gonna kind of like, oh, I lost Bren. So, so Starhawk in our book, oops, I was gonna hold it upside down again, in the spiral dance, she does talk about some of the stuff. So what is really great is she has a ton of exercises that you can do. You can do them by yourself, but a lot of these exercises actually work better as a group because you're bonding as a group. And that actually can make your coven closer and close knit. Because the concept is that when you are in a coven, you should be a close family. So if you're like really close with your parents and your siblings and your spouse and your children, you should feel that love and that closeness with your coven. So even though you might not be related biologically, you have this relationship that is beautiful and growing in a coven. So some of the things I want to touch on for anybody. So honestly, when you start practicing witchcraft, so if you're brand new, when you start practicing, at first you might be like, where do I find other people? Because like for me, I mean, I was solitary. I started out solitary, and I'm one of those people. As a child, I would be in the library and I was being dragged out, or kicked out because I'd been there till closing. So I love to learn. Learning is very important for me. But there is something when you have like a teacher, other people that you can learn from. There is something about that. So it is beautiful to have that. So a coven should be a place to grow as a group together spiritually, to raise energy together. And then it's also, like I said, it should be a place where you feel that familial connection, where you should feel like if you're sad that you can call anybody in the coven and just say, I'm having a bad day. Can you just tell me, like, whatever it is you need, you can just express that to somebody in the coven and you'll get like that response back. And then there should be like a training. So she does talk about, like, a lot of people teach classes. So like, for example, I teach classes, but she talks about how in the coven, the hierarchy, those that are high priestesses and high priests and priests and priestesses, they're experienced. They probably have a good 5 years plus under their belt and have had training. So they know all of the core foundations of paganism or the occult, however you want to put it. I'm trying to put it under the big umbrella. And so when somebody new comes in, there should be classes to get people who are brand new so that they understand the foundation. So you should have a first year, a second year, a third year, and train everybody to get that same wisdom and intelligence, and have it available that it is a tailored instruction, a tailored education program that is available. And that actually also helps build strong bonds. And then everybody's also learning. And then what's really neat, like I had said earlier, like the first coven I did, I was part of, was actually a witchcraft. I don't know if they called themselves a university, but it was a school, a witchcraft school. And you had different teachers for different sections. So you might have 5 sections on elemental magic, and you would have one teacher teaching you that because that's what that particular witch specialized in. So it was really neat to be able to have that. So you do want to have a way for everybody to grow spiritually, but you, like, as you're teaching new people, the older people are also learning, and everybody's learning and growing. So it's really important to know, like, what's everybody's interests? What are their specialities? I do love the exercises. Like I said, there's a couple of the exercises that are clearly group exercises, and they're really amazing. So if you don't have the book, it's Spiral Dance by Starhawk. So the exercises are really great. I actually, on my Patreon at the $5 membership level, I talk about the exercises in more detail, so please feel free. You can join my Patreon, and that is in my bio. So I have what's known as a bio link, similar to Linktree, or it's a bio site. Sorry, it's bio site. And you click it, and you can just, it'll take you, go to the Patreon symbol, and it will take you straight to Patreon if you're interested. So tonight's live will post on YouTube and on Patreon. So if you are just joining now, you're like, oh, I wanted to hear about Starhawk and Spiral Dance, you can grab that. So next week will be chapter 4, and chapter 4 is creating a sacred space. I think this is like so important. This is like, it's very, very important. So I'm very excited to be talking about that. And I'll actually throw a couple other things in there as we do this. So I am going to wrap up for the night because I did not charge my phone. So I have been watching it as it's like going down, and we lost Bren. So I want to thank everybody so much for all the gifts. Again, I really, really appreciate it. And thank you so much for all of the hearts. If you're not following, please make sure to follow. I will be live here on Tuesday. We will be doing Tuesday Tarot. So we are going to start out, we're going to talk about the Magician card. And then after that, we will be doing card readings. So you'll get a card pulled from me and from Bren, and you can get a card reading. So you can think about your questions, or you can just ask for a general, but I will be live again on Tuesday. I am live on Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursdays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So as always, bright blessings, everybody. I'm so glad you came and joined me for tonight. Merry meet, merry part. Bright blessings, and namaste.